So, and you talking about districts a lot, and one thing I've heard, and I've talked to other people with, where they're saying, well, I'm not going to vote. I don't want to be in the process. Or some people say, well, I vote in local elections. Then you ask them, well, what's your congressional district? And they don't necessarily know. Could you explain what gerrymandering is? Because I think gerrymandering is one of the biggest issues we have in America right now as far as voting and as far as the political system. And a lot of people just don't really understand it. And it's one of those things where it gets kind of into facts and figures and it's not really sexy. But like, if you could you just like explain what gerrymandering is?
Yeah, so every 10 years after the census, state legislatures get to decide congressional districts and our state legislative districts as well. So in Mississippi, the most gerrymandering really comes into play in our legislative districts because we only have four congressional districts. So with our 122 legislative districts, you take those districts, and what someone would do if they're trying to gerrymander is basically have Republicans elect Republicans. You don't want to have a community elect a representative. You want to pick your voters. So you would draw your district around where you know your voters live at. So you'll see some of these Senate districts in Mississippi that are basically draw around the area. I know, like Chris McDaniels represents part of Jones County, and if you ever pull up his district, you can see that his district is drawn around Laurel. Well, like Laurel is in his district, even though Laurel is the biggest city in Jones County. But they cut Laurel out because it's a big black community. And that's how you gerrymander. You cut around the areas you don't want and add the areas you do. And how it hurts black people in our state, we have about 42 majority black districts in Mississippi. And we do something, the Republicans and some Democrats help with this. They do something called packing, which means you put as many black voters into a majority black district as possible. So you have districts that are 80% black in Hinds County, and the Speaker's district in Clinton cuts into part of Gluckstadt and Madison County and does not include Edwards and Bolton because he wants to make it safe for him, even though Clinton is majority black now. He wants to add those boxes in Madison County. So, if you pack all the black people into 40 seats, you're really limiting the impact of black voters, because if you're in a district that's 50-50, black voters really have an opportunity to select or influence a legislative seat. But if you put them in all districts, they're like 20% white or 20% black, you're really just allowing us to influence like 40 seats.
So, and this is legal.
This is, yeah. Doing it by race, there's still a question on that. But what makes it legal is when a legislature does it based on politics or based on party. And the Supreme Court has said that legislatures can do that. They can do the districts based on political outcomes. Now, if they start doing it based on race, that's different. But you need a lot of evidence to prove that they're not doing it based on race.
Because that seems like something that would just, like, that would go to federal court.
Yeah, so, I mean, there have been actions in some states to strike down some of their districts, congressional districts, especially in North Carolina and Wisconsin. But Wisconsin is such a gerrymandered state. They're a state where I think 57% of voters last year voted for a Democrat to represent them in the legislature. And the Republicans in the legislature have a supermajority, even though north of 50%. So you have people packed into districts. Some of it is just by nature because Democrats tend to live in cities and Republicans are in the rural community. So some of that is natural packing, but then you draw districts that really just pack everybody, all Democratic voters into one district, then you just limit their impact.